What if it's erotic? Start chasing money. 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 Oh, I have sugar in my butt. Hold on. Shit. How do I pull it out? How do I pull it out? Start chasing money. Start chasing money. Start chasing money. Start chasing money. Start. How do I pull it out? How do I pull it out? Start chasing money. Start chasing money. Start chasing money. Start chasing money.
Wait, what is it? What is it?
Grenade out. Where's the grenade? Oh God, it's everywhere. Oh my God, I'm coming. Start chasing money. 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 Start chasing money.
Yo, it is June 6th, 2022. Where my Met fans at? We ready? Let's go Mets. Yo. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Mets Life. You already know I'm your host, Rompe. When it comes to the Mets, it's always, always, always for life. What an amazing weekend we had for the New York Metropolitans, man. First of all, the week that we had was, I don't even know how to begin to describe the sort of week that the Mets had. It started off, finishing off a 6-game homestand, sweeping that, and then going down or going across the nation to Los Angeles and splitting a series with the Dodgers, which I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to hold you. The first few games, the first 2 games, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't scared at all. I wasn't nervous, wasn't scared. I was annoyed at the 2-0 loss on Thursday. Because, Francisco Lindor slammed his finger on his hotel room door, and the Mets didn't get an off day to travel across from New York to Los Angeles. And I don't like that. I don't like the cross country. You play the next day. I don't like that. But we have to deal with it, And I'm not going to lie. The Mets didn't give that game up by any stretch of the imagination. Facing one of the best pitchers right now in Tony Gonsolin, give him props. The Mets, even with as good as he is, the Mets still made him work. They made him work. And Taijuan Walker, he did his thing too. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. They're a really, really solid ball club. And, it's going to happen. It's going to happen where we're going to lose games, when we're facing really good pitching. It's when we're facing not good pitching. That's where the issue lies with me, But, like that McGill start, his last start actually that he had was, against the Washington Nationals, where they dropped the 8-bomb on him, and he was hurt. Turns out he was hurt, which made sense because he had been great. He had been great till then. He only had one bad start, which was against San Francisco. And, he went into that start and things just, they turned on him. His body kind of sold him out. But it's okay because he's on his way back. And turns out we might have him for the Angels series. So that's a good thing, right? He pitched yesterday as well. So kind of lines him up for the next time around that, that Trevor Williams has to start. I think if McGill is ready to go, he'll get that start. If not, Trevor Williams come in there, give another start, But the way it looked, the way it seems, he pitched 3 in a third, I think, or a few, he pitched into the 4th inning. He didn't finish the 4th inning, but he pitched into the 4th. And gave up a home run, gave up another run, which, you letting out the kinks, you letting it go, letting it loose. He was topping out at 97. And he struck out 5. He struck out 5 in 3, I think 3 2/3 or 3 1/3 innings. So that to me is, all right, if he's ready to go, let's bring it. You know what I'm saying? The more, the better. The guys are starting to slowly come back. Jacob deGrom is finally back on a mound, on a pitching mound, throwing very light BP, last we heard, he threw like around 19 pitches, all fastballs at moderate speed or moderate effort. He wasn't, throwing it at 100%. So that, listen, anytime you get news that DeGrom is pitching, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We're not holding our breath. I'm not gonna, I don't want to put that kind of expectation, knowing how pitches are, knowing how arms are very fragile and things can go sideways very quickly. But I'm gonna give Jacob DeGrom the benefit of the doubt. He deserves that much. He deserves that much. He deserves the benefit of the doubt. In my mind, of he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. And that's bar none. I mean, you got American League guys coming in saying Jacob DeGrom is, has one of the best fastballs in baseball. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. You know, so I want him back and ready to go. I don't, considering that we're playing at such a high level, which is absolutely amazing for this ball club. But the fact that we're pitching at such a high level, there's no need to rush him back. There's a in the fan base, and in the sports world, the idea, I don't want to say ideal, but if it's after this, at the start of the second half, if that's where we're gonna get him back and we're gonna really go with that, cool. Listen, I'm not gonna die for it. I would rather much see him before that beginning of July, just so just to get the juices flowing, feeling like we're the But at the end of the day, we want him for the long run. We want him for the long term. So, if it means starting the second half, F it. As long as that means he's on the mound, I don't care. I don't care if it's starting the second half. I don't care if it's the last day of June. I don't care if it's the last week of June. I don't care if it's the last 2 days of June or if it's the first day of July. It doesn't matter. The point is, want Jacob DeGrom back on the mound. Want Jacob DeGrom back wearing the uniform, pitching the way we know he can pitch. I don't have any doubt in my mind that last year's stuff is irrelevant with this or whatever he's dealing with. And the proof is in the pudding, right? In spring training, because he only missed his last, I think, 2 starts of spring training before the Mets broke camp and came, it was a short spring training. So, there were already rumblings that maybe the Mets will keep him back, just let him get another spring training start before he would bring him up for opening day. But that wasn't the case. Buck had him slotted for opening day, and then the injury happened. So, here we are. But the way this team has played without him, and then the last few weeks without Scherzer, give him props. I mean, the New York Mets deserve all the applause in the world for the performance that they've put on since their 2 big guys haven't been pitching. So you gotta give them that type of props. That's great on their part, and I applaud them for that. And it continues tonight in San Diego. It continues. San Diego is one of the top 5 teams in baseball. They're slotted in right there, behind Houston. So the way it goes is the Yankees, the Mets, Houston, the Dodgers, San Diego. And that's with the Mets losing the first 2 games of the series against the Dodgers. So you can imagine that, a fan base that has been heartbroken so many times. We've gone through the collapse of 2007, missing the playoffs in 2008. Last year, 103 days in first place, and we end the season 11 games back. those type of embarrassments are over. And I've said it time and time again. The fact that last year happened, I hate it. But the fact that Steve Cohen got to see that, for me, I felt was kind of a good thing. If you could find a positive in the negative, the fact that Steve Cohen, Uncle Stevie, got to see how bad things can go and never wanting to be in that position again. I mean, you gotta give him that. You gotta give him that kind of like, all right, I'm glad he saw that because now he'll never want that to happen again. He would do everything in his power to make sure that never happens again. Which is why I'm not worried about the team falling out of first place. And, is Atlanta going to go on a run where they're going to compete and they're going to fight and they're going to yes. Right now they're in the mix of a few games where they're playing, teams that they should be able to beat. Right? They're about to face Oakland at home soon. So they're getting another series against a team that they should be able to kind of handle. And, however you look at it, it's a team that they should be able to beat, right? But still, like I said, like I mentioned, and I wasn't joking when I said it, the Atlanta Braves were going to feel that championship hangover. They were going to feel that, oh, snap, we didn't even get to finish celebrating and we got to play again. That happens. That's why it's tough for teams to go back to back. And the fact that, in the late 90s, the Yankees did it and they were the last team to do it, goes to tell you how difficult it is for a team, to win back-to-back championships. Even the Dodgers, they went to back-to-back World Series and lost them both to teams who were involved in some cheating. And I know that probably kills that fan base because, dang, 2 championships, and then they won in 2020. Clayton Kershaw could have had 3 championships. This team could have been one of the best teams of all time, the dynasty. And I get it, you're not, in the sports world, you're not really a dynasty unless you win multiple championships in a span of, let's say 4 years. You win 3 out of 4. That's a dynasty, right? Those are Teddy Bruschi's words. When the Patriots won championships back then, 3 and 4 years, that's a dynasty. Look at the Giants. They won 3 in 5 years or 6 years or something like that. They won in 2010. They won again in 2012. And then they won again in 2014, which props. That was a dynasty. Those San Francisco Giants, Buster Posey, Madison Bumgarner teams were a dynasty. And I'm going to be honest with you. The fact that Bumgarner isn't on the Giants right now is a crime. If you ask me, it's an absolute crime that Madison Bumgarner isn't on the Giants. Because if you think about the Giants right now, they could be a team that's in the hunt to trade for Madison Bumgarner. I wouldn't be surprised if Madison Bumgarner ends up back with the Giants to try to go on a run and, compete. But that's crazy because they could have avoided that if they would have just gave him some money. And they didn't want to do that. And I felt like with the championships that he's won them, the season that he had in 2014 was legendary stuff. And he didn't get compensated for that. They didn't pay him for that. As young as he is, because people forget how young he still is. I think he's younger than Jacob deGrom, if I'm not lying. Which is crazy. Which is crazy to me. So Madison Bumgarner is 32 years old. Exactly. His birthday is August 1st. He turns 33 this year. Jacob DeGrom is a year older than Madison Bumgarner. Um, crazy, crazy. You think about it. Um, Madison Bumgarner, 32 years old, and he signed a deal at age 29, I believe, going into his age, going into age 30. Um, if I'm not mistaken, um, which to me is nuts, right? So yeah, 2020, 2020, 2021, and then this year. So he signed with the Diamondbacks in December 17th, 2019, which was 3 years ago. He was 29 years old, and the Giants didn't want him after everything he's done for that organization. So, yeah, he's not going back. I mean, I wouldn't. But then again, who knows? But they did that. They did the same thing to Freddie Freeman. Treating Freddie Freeman like he is just some old, washed up. Like Freddie Freeman he's around Aaron Judge's age, maybe a year older than Aaron Judge. The Yankees doing the same thing with Aaron Judge. Didn't want to offer him 250. They go 250. He signs with them. This is the same thing that happened with them and Robinson Cano. They didn't go 200. Robinson Cano signs for 210 in Seattle. I mean, it's listen, it's dollars. It's dollars amount. And I understand long term you want to make sure you don't handicap yourself long term. The Yankees have done that. But they gave Jacoby Ellsbury money that I felt they should have gave Robinson Cano. And Robinson Cano did have a couple good years with Seattle. It was over the last few after his first PD suspension, it just went downhill, which respectfully so. That's what you get. You cheat, and that's what happens. But so you want the best from Jacob DeGrom. You want DeGrom to be there for as long as you possibly want him to be there for. He's intent on opting out, which fine. That doesn't hurt the Mets because they kind of get like a reset of sorts when it comes to the roster. Except for some of the additions that they signed this year, like Marcana, Sterling Marte, and Eduardo Escobar. Those guys signed for a few years. Escobar signed for 2. I think Canna signed for 2 with an option, and Marte signed for 4. So, and those are deals that are, looking at the grand scheme of it, is not bad at all. Which is why, for me, why the Mets are where they are. It's why they're on top. So you got to give them that. Basically, when it comes to those numbers in the offseason, they'll figure it out. They'll see what it is that they need to do to get it done. But I just don't see, Jacob DeGrom, who's been on the record saying that Jacob DeGrom wants to be a Met for life. If Jacob says he wants to be a Met for life, then, I mean, there's no reason not to think that he wouldn't want to be here for life. So, I fully expect them to hash that out when that comes to it. But the kind of week that the Mets had is the kind of week that elite teams have. The Mets, they went 5-2 this week. They took 3 from Washington. They took 2 of 3 from Washington, and they lost 2 to the Dodgers, and they won the last 2 against the Dodgers. So that's 5-2. Meanwhile, the Dodgers, on the other hand, um, they got swept by Pittsburgh. They won 2 against the Mets, the first 2, and then they lost 2 against the Mets. So the Dodgers, on the other hand, went 5-2 this week. While the Dodgers went 2-5 this week, while the Mets went 5-2. So, yeah, and they did lose 2 games. They did put up a 6 spot. But when you look at it, right, the Mets, right? So the Dodgers scored 6, 7, 8, 16 runs, and the Mets scored 15 runs. So the Dodgers outscored the Mets by 1. Listen, championship teams, this is what happens, right? This is what the Mets did against the best team over the last few years in the National League. This is what the Mets have done against that team. So, I know a lot of people want to go out there and say, oh, the Mets aren't good. The Mets aren't playing anybody good. They're not playing anybody that's, that's good enough. This is the most difficult part of their schedule. It only gets better from there. How much better? We're going to talk about it right now. So, the last time I checked, the Mets when it comes to remaining strength of schedule, the teams with the easiest schedule are the team with the easiest schedule remaining, with 110 games remaining, the White Sox. The overall, the combined winning percentage of the remaining opponents for the White Sox is 4.474. After them is St. Louis, which is why I think St. Louis is going to win the Central. But this doesn't mean that's going to happen. This is just strength of schedule. They still have to win these games. So, but you got to factor in, it's the Cardinals. They're going to make moves at the trade deadline. So you got to really factor that in to all of it, right? Then Houston, which is why I think they're going to run away with that. Which is why I think they're going to run away with that division. Right, so it's Houston. It's 4-7-6. Then it's us, the Mets, with 106 games left. Their toughest opponents, they have 15 remaining with Atlanta. But remember, Atlanta is second in the division, so there's still some games to play against Atlanta, so there's still room to make to push them down. And for Atlanta, that's room for them to, try to get back in the race, right? So they have the most games against Atlanta remaining, that's division. 6 against Milwaukee, 6 against San Diego, which the series begins tonight. So after this week, it'll be 3. 4 against Houston, which is a 2-2, 3 against the Dodgers at home in August, and 4 against the Yankees, which is 2 in July and 2 in August. So it's them, right? So they're we are fourth, the fourth lowest. Um, and then you got Philadelphia. But they still gotta face, they gotta face Milwaukee for 3. They faced Milwaukee already, I believe. Um, yes, they did face Milwaukee at home. I think they lost 2-1-1, or they won 2, lost 1. They still have 7 against the Cardinals, 4 against Toronto. They have 4 against San Diego, 3 against Houston, and they still have 7 games against us. So that's 2 series. Um, for us, our weakest opponents left, we still got 9 games against Washington, 4 games against Colorado, 19 games left against Miami. We have not faced Miami yet. We got 19 games left against them, 7 against the Cubs, 9 against Washington, Oakland at the end of the year, Cincinnati also in August and September. I mean, and those are quote unquote the easiest opponents left. With Miami being in 4th place, Washington being in last place in our division. And taking into account that we still have 7 against Philly as well. So that's nothing to, that's nothing to sit back and like, that's no. Starting July 1st, the Mets got Texas, Cincinnati, Miami, Atlanta, and then Chicago before the All-Star game. The toughest, I'm gonna give Miami because it's like it gets chippy with Miami. They have a really good pitching staff as well, but I believe we can beat them. This is a different team this year, so the toughest team. I don't see it. I just don't see it, right? I don't see us honestly losing many of these series. Except for what we got left. It's going to be a tough series against San Diego. It's going to be the Angels have lost 11 games in a row, and they got Boston tonight. They haven't gotten a break. It's like Apollo Creed and Rocky 4. I mean, there's no break. There's no break. If they, you get it. The big quote. The big quote from Rocky 4. But if they go, they go. Milwaukee after that at home, and then we get Miami for the first time starting on Friday, June 17th. So, I mean, so much credit goes to Buck Showalter because, a lot of times managers, they get the bad end of it. Joe Girardi is a perfect example. When it comes to, when the team is doing bad, they're responsible. They're the ones that get their fingers pointed at them. So we're going to point some fingers at Buck Showalter because everybody who's anybody said that he is the guy that you want to manage a veteran ball club. The Mets are they're not the youngest team in baseball, but they're still winning with guys who are, veterans. They have a good group of veterans on their team. The last time the Mets had a good group of veterans, they went to the World Series 2015, right? Michael Kadire, perfect example, right? And, the Juan Uribes, the Kelly Johnsons, the list goes on and on and on of veterans that the Mets brought in to kind of help the team win, So the Mets are in a really, really, really good spot. Um, Before we get into the series today against San Diego, we're gonna talk about the guys that we've held responsible. We held accountable, actually, over the last few series. This started all the way back when I held Lindor accountable before the series against um Philly, that same series that the Mets had an amazing comeback with 2 outs in the ninth inning. Um so that's definitely that's definitely up there. Um so we're gonna look into where get into the splits. But Eduardo Escobar was the guy, was one of the last guys that I'm like, I'm holding you accountable. Um, you are very much responsible for whatever's going on, right? And so that started with the Seattle series. Um, and it didn't start picking up for him until the series against St. Louis. In the series against Seattle, he only had one hit. But since the series against St. Louis, um, so that's 19 games. He has 9 runs scored, 20 hits, 4 doubles, 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, 3 walks, struck out 21 times, but he's hitting 263 with 281 on base, 434 slugging, which all comes out to a 715 on base percentage. Batting average on balls in play, 309. Huge, 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 huge difference. And you could even look in the last few games. Let's say because it started really turning up for him in San Francisco. So, in San Francisco, since San Francisco, that's 13 games, 291, 753 batting. On base plus slugging, with a 333 with the balls in play. Fantastic. 2 home runs, struck out only 13, 2 sac flies. Uh, Still not doing what he was doing at the beginning of the year when he wasn't hitting, which was he was walking a lot. Sac flies. There was a lot of hit by pitches, but he hasn't got hit by a pitch in a while. But Eduardo Escobar really, really turned it up in the last few games. He's answered the bell. The one that didn't got sent down, which was Dom Smith, and I talked about that when Robinson Cano got released, or when he got DFA'd or cut from the Mets. I said that Dominic Smith, though we love him, the pressure's on because he is the guy. He's the left-handed bat that takes over those at bats that Cano had, right? So he was gonna get more at bats, more opportunities to be in there. Those at bats are gone now. Luis Guillorme is getting those at bats now. Nick Plummer is getting those at bats now. So, and also getting those at bats is J.D. Davis. Hitting doubles Davis. Um, J.D. Davis, he was held accountable, and honestly, though it's been sporadic, I say late. I say lately. Let's highlight the last last five games. Over the last 5 games, he's hitting 333, OPS of 879, 500 with balls in play. J.D. Davis has turned it up without hitting home runs. That's one thing that this team has had to learn the hard way is in years past, the Mets lived and died by the home run ball. Um, you know, and that didn't get them anywhere. They weren't getting hits with men in scoring position. They weren't getting hits with 2 outs. They weren't getting hits in 2 strike counts. They weren't doing it when they needed to do it the most. So we're gonna go back even further. So we're gonna go back from the National Series to now. The last 6 games, 350 with the 859 with the 539 with balls in play. That's not bad at all, man. Struck out 7 times. Not 17. 7 times he only struck out. That to me, when you look at a 162 game pace, that's a 162 game pace of, 189 hits, 54 doubles, 27 RBIs, 54 walks. Those are DH numbers. 81 runs. Those are DH numbers. And he's done it. He certainly has answered the bell. For sure. So that's why he's here. That's why he hasn't been traded. That's why he's still getting the at bats. That doesn't, and it should never mean that he's safe, because no, guys have to be held accountable. Now, if we remember the last game of the Seattle series, Pete Alonso struck out on a really, 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 really bad pitch. There's a slider away in the other batter's box, but that wasn't the pitch that upset me. In that at bat, the pitch that upset me was the 84 mile an hour slider in the middle, which Pete Alonso hits to the stands with his eyes closed. Since that time, Pete, which is 20 games, Pete has he hit 8 home runs. He's hitting 307 with a 1.056 OPS, a 283 with balls in play. I would love that to be a little bit higher. Struck out 17 times. But that's a 162 game pace over the last 20 games. A 162 game pace of 65 home runs, 202 RBIs, 81 walks. I mean, he's been intentionally walked 4 times. 23 hits, 14 runs scored in those 20 games. Walked 10 times in those 20 games. I mean, 3 sack flies. Only grounded, right? Because he only grounded into 2 double plays in the last 20 games. That is why Pete Alonso is not just a one-trick pony, just a power hitter. That's why Pete Alonso is not Chris Davis. That's why Pete Alonso is not, who else could I name that you just plug in there because, he's going to get you the long ball no. I mean, Yes, it's only 3 doubles. You would like for that to go higher, but 23 hits with 3 doubles. I mean, that is great, man. This is that Pete Alonso is having himself. He's having himself uh an amazing season. MVP type stuff. Um, the I mean, it's crazy. It's just fantastic to see that he's going to that. It's fantastic to see him going through that. Here you go. It's fantastic to see that. That's what he's done. Uh, over the last few games. Fantastic. Fantastic to see that that's what he's done over the last few games. So I mean, that's great. Lindor, since that time that the Mets won that game against Philly, right? We're going back to, when we held guys accountable. So, um, 28 games since that time. The Mets are 19-9. Um, he's had 30 hits, 4 doubles, two triples, 5 home runs, 30 RBIs since that Philly game. 30 RBIs, 13 walks, struck out 26 times, grounded into only 1 double play, stole 4 bases, did not get caught stealing at all, 4 sac flies, and 2 reached on an error. Those numbers are crazy, crazy elite. I mean, from May 5th to June 5th, that is a month. 30 days. Francisco Lindor is slugging 486, on base plus slugging of 833. Average with balls in play 305. Can I get a hot tub? I mean, that's I mean, that is insane. That is insane. Honestly, that to me is that to me is I mean, right? Because right now, the thought process is Mookie Betts is right now the guy leading the charge for MVP. And rightfully so. I mean, the guy is one of the best, best players on that team. So we ain't even gonna, pretend like, you know, that's something else. So all right, 28 games, right? So right here for Lindor, 28 games. That is hold on. This thing is acting up. So May 5th to June 5th. It's not popping up. All right, but Mookie Betts, um, in that time, 13 home runs, 30 RBIs, the same amount as Lindor, right? The same amount as Lindor. Um, we're gonna back it up. Actually, go to June 5th, right? So May 4th to June 5th. That's an extra day. Played a couple more games because remember Lindor got hurt. Um, so 13 home runs, 33 RBIs, 13 walks. I think Lindor had the same thing. Struck out 23 times. I think Lindor struck out 26. Grounded into only 2 double plays. Hitting 349. 1.16 ER. I mean, these are 45 hits, 11 doubles, no triples. I mean, that is not gonna lie. That is different. That is different, right? So you look at both these numbers. Lindor 275 batting average, Mookie Betts 349. Uh, Lindor 305 for balls in play, Mookie Betts 340. I mean, matching up. Win probability added for offensive player is higher for Mookie, of course, considering that output. But I mean, that is exact. This is exact. That's on par. That is on par with all of it. That is on par with all of it. Um, Trey Turner, who's another guy who, we're just, because the thing with the Met fans has been that Lindor, you know, obviously, I mean, everybody in Major League Baseball is overpaid, clearly. But it's, to think that Lindor is not good, I mean, is wrong. You know, in the same amount of time, right? Now, mind you, right, from May 5th to June 5th, the Mets played, Lindor played 2 fewer games, right? So, Trey, 16 runs, 39 hits. Lindor, 30 hits. So, 39 to 30. 4 doubles for Lindor, 9 doubles for Trey Turner, a triple for Trey, 2 triples for Lindor, 4 home runs for Trey, 5 home runs for Lindor, 30 RBIs for Lindor, 24 for Trey, 11 walks, 13 walks, 1 intentional, struck out 25, Lindor struck out 26. Batting average 275, Trey Turner 317, 368 with baseballs in play, 879 OPS, 833 OPS. I mean, these are very comparable. And Trey Turner has been one of the best shortstops in baseball. I mean, these are the 2 guys that's going to be up for who starts the All-Star game. That's how good they've been playing. So that, honestly, that to me, shows you everything you need to know about the type of time Lindor's on this year. He get his fingers slammed shut on a door. He's playing with some sort of a fracture in his middle finger. That is nothing short but inspiring. That's stuff that tough SOBs are made out of. They come in, they show up, whether they hurt, if I could still swing the bat, I'm in the lineup, and that's what he's doing. You gotta give, if you don't respect Francisco Lindor for what he's doing now, even since his finger got slammed on the door, I don't care what nobody says, he's earned my respect. He's 100,000% earned my respect for the way he's performed. And in speaking about that, a couple weeks back, listening to, some WFAN, BT and Tiki were talking about how Lindor has the most pressure, more pressure than Garrett Cole at the moment because Lindor wasn't performing well. So So they were talking about how Lindor was under pressure because he wasn't performing well, he wasn't performing the way he was supposed to perform, and it just wasn't, you know just basically like, oh, if Lindor doesn't turn it around, he needs to turn it around because if not, the fans are gonna eat him up and chew him out. They're gonna do what they did last year. The fans are gonna turn on him. Basically, was kind of like the thing because at the time Garrett Cole wasn't pitching very well, or he wasn't pitching as good as the other guys were pitching on his staff, and Lindor wasn't performing, good after the great week, the great first couple weeks of the season he had. Um, they asked the question of who the fans are gonna turn on first, or who the fans would turn on more if they don't turn their performance around, and you know they're talking about how it's cold, and giving some excuses for Lindor, but then for Garrett Cole, and then it was like Lindor, he just he's getting paid a lot of money and he's not performing like some of these other shortstops are performing for their teams, and all these other young guys who are young like him are performing for their teams. And I knew from the moment they said it was a bunch of BS because Lindor is he's a superstar, bro. He's a superstar in this game. He's still young. He's still only 28 years old. I mean, you're not gonna sit here and start disrespecting that man and you know how good he is just because Look, at the end of the day, yes, he's not he's not Fernando Tatis, but Fernando Tatis isn't him. If you want to look at it like that, because Lindor was here first. Lindor's been the All-Star. Lindor's been to a World Series. Lindor has that seasoning. His first season in the major leagues, he went to the World Series. First full season, 2016, went to the World Series. So, you know, it's not, it's not like these guys aren't, I understand, Tatis is flashy. He's, top 4 in MVP a couple years ago, or was it last year, or, in 2020 or something like that. He had a phenomenal season. And, you know, listen, at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you just like this. Fernando Tatis isn't Francisco Lindor. Kill me for it. I don't care. I got my guys back. Fernando Tatis is not Lindor. Everybody want to say, oh, Lindor's not Tatis. He's not that. People got to stop thinking he is. He's getting paid, $1 million more than he is. And, blah, 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 blah. And they're comparing paychecks instead of comparing who these players are. You want to compare players. All right, we can do that. Tatis is significantly younger. We get that, right? Not significant, but he's younger than him. So yeah, but Tatis isn't Lindor. Tatis hasn't done the things Lindor has done, and that's fact. Tatis is not playing now because of himself. Because anybody who's anybody knows, and we're not going to pretend we don't know, if you decide you think you're going to ride a motorcycle in the Dominican Republic, you pretty much think that's a bad idea. Because that's a bad idea. And that's why he's hurt right now. That's why his team, this team is playing well, but they could be playing better if he was with them. But he's not. He's been injury prone for the last 3 seasons. Fernando Tatis Jr. is not Francisco Lindor. Let's get that straight. Because it is frustrating. Because as a fan of this game, as a fan of this sport, when you hear that your team has traded for Francisco Lindor, you're getting a superstar. You're getting world-class premium defense. You're getting a top-of-the-order superstar hitter. Is exactly what we're seeing now. Even with a fractured finger, the guy is putting in work. His defense has been way better. He is in line, playing defensively like someone who will win a Gold Glove this year. My money is on Lindor winning the Gold Glove for the National League this year. So, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to hear it. I just know that the facts are the facts. And basically what it tells me is that Lindor is having himself a top 5 MVP type season. We're talking number 3 in the National League in RBIs with 45. Bro, let's turn back and look at that number. 45 with 39 runs scored. Put some respect on his name. Like, for real. Like, I'm not even joking no more. Like, time to give this man some respect. He is playing like a true superstar right now. Any other 30 major league teams would want Francisco Lindor, and they will pay him $341 million right now to have his type of talent. Feel me? So I'm not trying to hear none of that, oh, Lindor is whack or Lindor is overpaid. At the end of the day, all these guys in Major League Baseball are overpaid. Athletes are overpaid. It just is what it is. The price of the athlete has gone up significantly over the last few years. That's just inflation, baby. That's how it works. Feel me? Listen. Things don't cost the same way they do now that they did before. Feel me? In the 1990s, a gallon of milk was, I don't even want to start talking about that. But the point is, that's what it is with the players. This is what it costs to have the type of talent on your team. You understand injuries are part of the game. I understand that some guys will have off seasons here and there. But listen, I'll be damned if nobody's going to put respect on the fact that Francisco Lindor is playing some of his best baseball of his career. Hands down. The kid has almost 200 home runs in his career. And he's only in year... What year is it? Hold on. Because it's insane to me that people think that he isn't good. I mean, this is 8th season. 2015 was his first year. I'm sorry. 2015 was his first year. So his second year in Major League Baseball, he went to the World Series. But, mind you, 4-time All-Star, back to back to back to back. Multiple-time Gold Gloves. He won 2. But mind you, he was playing the same position in the same league as his good friend Carlos Correa, who's won those other Gold Gloves that he didn't win. Right? So Lindor won it in 16 and 19. Right? So I'm assuming that Correa won it in 17 and 18. And also probably in 16. I don't know. No, Correa's only won it in 21. So shortstop Gold Glovers. Shortstop Gold Glovers, the last 10 seasons. Last 10 seasons. So, for the National League, right? Oh, no, for the American League. Lindor won it in 16. Alcides Escobar won it in 15. So Lindor won it in 16. Simmons won it in 17, 18. Right? And then Francisco Lindor got beat last year by Brandon Crawford. Brandon Crawford beat Lindor last year for a Gold Glove, which that gave Brandon Crawford his 4th Gold Glove last season. He is definitely going to be in the mix for Gold Glove this season. That's how good he's playing. And you look at it, fielding percentages over the last couple, like Javi Baez had 968 last year. Brandon Crawford had 983 with 9 errors. Right? And 340 assists with 168 putouts. So you look at what Lindor's doing this season defensively. It's here we go. Fielding 2022. And you look at it, right? I mean, 4 errors this season. Right? 4 errors this season. 4 errors this season. 76 putouts, 137 assists. I mean, defensive chances, 217 defensive chances. Um, Turned 28 double plays. Um, Again, looking back at the last couple years, 68 double plays, 9 errors, 340 assists, 168 putouts, fielding percentage 983. Lindor's fielding percentage, I can't find it right now. But I mean, that just tells you, you know, everything you need to know about Francisco Lindor versus every other, major league shortstop this year besides every other shortstop besides Trey Turner. So, that to me is just fantastic. I mean, you can't, you know, it's he is the reason why the Mets are winning the games that they're winning. Him, Pete Alonso are the superstars on this team. They are surrounded. It's like, when LeBron James was winning all his championships, everybody was just saying if you could just surround LeBron James with some talent, he'll win. Right? And he did. He went to Miami, got surrounded by talent, and he won. What the Mets did was surround Lindor and Pete Alonso with talent. And they're winning. And they're doing it without their best pitchers. So they're going to get more help, And I hate to even mention that, so we're not going to mention that because to me it's always just been one of those, let's not talk about, we're getting them back. That's like making trade. Listen, we're not trading. We don't need to trade for pitchers. If the Mets are going to make a trade at any point this season, it's going to be for bullpen help and for power. So that could be a DH somewhere, plug them in, let them play. So, that's not anything that I'm concerned about at all. That's nothing I'm concerned about at all with Lindor and the Mets and whatever's going on right now. So that's that's nada. That's nada, right? That's nada. That's nothing. Last season the Mets beat San Diego. They beat them pretty handedly last year. One of their best players this year so far is Manny Machado. Surprisingly, is also Eric Hosmer, playing very, very well for them. They've added some other talent. They added Luke Voit from the Yankees, Matt Beatty from the Dodgers, Sergio Alcantara, Alfaro, Austinola. They had Austinola last year, so Alfaro. No, Austinola was actually, he was with the Mariners, and then he finished the season with the Padres. Alfaro, but they don't have Tatis yet. So you could only. The Mets have played well against San Diego in San Diego couple years now. So tonight is no different. Tonight I don't expect any different. The Mets are going to do what they need to do. And players to look out for in this series for the Mets, for me, again, will continue to be Lindor. Let's look to see what he's going to do if he's gonna get a day off or not, because he is playing with the finger that is hurt, but he's getting through it. Um, so Lindor, he's played well in San Francisco. He's played very well. I mean, San Diego, he played very well there last year as well. Um, McNeil, those are the two guys I'm looking at to give the Mets something, right? I know McNeil is dealing with some of the leg issues, you know, during that San Francisco trip. It was bothering him, but he did hit a home run in the raindrops off the Phillies and Zach Eflin. So I'm looking at McNeil. I'm looking at Lindor. Those are the guys. Mostly Lindor. Lindor's my guy for this series to look at. Had a good series against LA. Especially those last two games. So that's what I'm looking at. Mets are gonna win this series. They'll probably lose one of these games. They're probably gonna lose one, win two. I would think they're gonna win this series. I feel like they're the better team. They're gonna win this series, and then we're gonna be off to Anaheim to finish this West Coast trip. Finally, no more West Coast teams except for Oakland, which is at the end of the year. So very, very happy about that. The Mets can finally, get acclimated to time and just do what they need to do. 19 games against the Marlins. Let's win some games against Miami. That is what I'm saying. So last time I said, if the Mets get through this trip, if they get through June, actually I said, but they get through this trip with a good record. They've only lost two. They're 2-2 right now so far. So if they get through this road trip good, they're for me, I don't care, best team in the National League. They get through June, they're gonna be the best team in baseball. Period. So those are all the tidbits. The Mets are good. All again, BT, Tiki, all them guys that are Yankee fans and WFAN. I just want y'all to do me a favor. Stop the cap. Just stop the cap. Because I'm gonna say it straight up. Listen, if it's gonna be Mets and Yankees Subway Series, you're gonna go for the Yankees. I want you to keep that energy. I love it when we hate each other. I don't like it when we like each other. It's better if we just call it what it is. It's Mets, Yankees. I do not like the Yankees at all, period. But yeah, just stop the cap. Stop pretending like, you want to see the Mets win. You're rooting for them to be. No, I don't care if you're a radio host in this city. You guys are Yankee fans. You like the Yankees. Root for them. Let's keep the energy high, man. We love it. We won the Subway Series. Because trust me, what I want is for the Mets to beat the Yankees in the World Series, exercise those 2,000 demons, and get it done. And we're going to be back on top, beat the best. Period. So you already know the vibes. When it comes to the Mets, it's always, always, always for life. Nothing more, nothing less. We're going to catch you guys back on Thursday. You already know. Let's go Mets.